universe works physically. Okay, so first things first. Einstein's theory of relativity. E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Okay? Now, Planck's constant. Energy equals frequency times velocity. Okay? So, the main constituent particle of everything that exists is the photon. It's infinitely small and it's infinitely large. Okay? So you have the photon and then you have the Higgs field. Okay? Those are what keep everything in equilibrium. Okay? So I'm going to explain how Einstein's theory of relativity and Planck's constant are directly related. Okay? So you have magnetic waves and you have gravitational waves. Okay? Magnetic waves will push everything out. Gravitational waves are what pull everything in. Okay? So basically it's kind of like magnetic waves are what make you grow and gravitational waves are what make you grow older. Okay? Pulling everything back in. Basically, magnetic waves are directly related to love waves, which oscillate at 10 to the 0, all the way up to infinity. So that means they start right after infinity ends, which means they're pretty much the exact same thing. It's the same thing with gravity waves. They're the same thing as entropy, okay? It's just a big loop, okay? That's why everything in the universe is pretty much spheres, okay? And I'll explain that in a little bit. But the way that Einstein's theory of relativity and Planck's constant are directly related is, so you have frequency times velocity. So basically Planck's constant is just describing photons, little packets of energy, okay? And you can basically measure a packet of energy with one oscillation of a wave, okay? So that's how we can measure X-rays, microwaves, infrared, light, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma waves, okay? Because they're little packets of energy. So you basically just have the string, you bend it and you connect it, it makes something like this, and then you twist it, makes kind of like an infinity symbol, and then you fold it, it makes a loop, okay? So as I said before, magnetic, gravitational, love, entropy waves all oscillate at everything from nothing to infinity, which is pretty much the same thing. It's just a torus, okay? That's all the universe is a series of toruses, okay? So you have energy, which is magnetic waves, equals frequency, which, as you can tell, the frequency here, connect it, bend it, fold it, that's the same thing as mass times the speed of light squared. Okay? They're basically the same thing, just different sizes. Okay? But they're the exact same thing. Just Planck's constant is significantly smaller than the theory of relativity. Okay? But they're the exact same thing. That's all the universe is a big torus. It's a photon in the middle, and it's basically infinite photons being pushed out, which is everything the universe is. It's infinitely small, and it's infinitely large. Just a gigantic torus. Okay? And if you don't know what a torus is, it's kind of like a donut. Okay? So, we've got that out of the way. The way that I came up with the idea for love waves and entropy waves is basically looking at the electromagnetic spectrum and figuring out that below what radio waves oscillated at, there was something below that, which is 10 to the 0. So it's basically 0.0000001 to infinity, and that's whenever it starts. Goes all the way up to infinity, comes back around again. Okay? So, magnetic wave is love waves, pushing everything out. Gravitational waves is entropy waves, pulling everything in. Okay? So that's the easiest way to explain that. Now, let's get into how basically everything is connected. Okay? So, like I said, a photon is basically a torus. Okay? It's the most simplest thing in the universe that everything comes from. It's the source of everything, and it is everything. Okay? So, if you think of this as just science and not transcendental, you need to rethink your life, because this is beyond us. So, alright? Okay, so you have that. So basically, the best way I can explain it is everything is connected. So you have, okay, so I'll explain the way the way the things go, okay? So you start out with a proton, which is a torus. Then you go to an up quark, which is a ditorus. Then you go to a charm quark, which is a tritorus. And as you go down the line, it just gets to be more and more toruses. So the best way that I can do is I can draw it for you, okay? I can draw a tritorus for you. basically how everything is connected. It just keeps going up in toruses and toruses and toruses. But this is the best way that I can illustrate the way that it works for protons, neutrons, and electrons. Basically, the way that they all connect, and the way that they pull each other together, and the way that they push each other apart. Okay, that's the best way that I can explain it. Okay, so the way the line is, it goes photon to the up quark, to the charm quark, to the top quark, to the tau lepton, to the electron lepton, to the muon lepton, to the down quark, to the strange quark, to the bottom quark, to the muon neutrino lepton, to the electron neutrino lepton, to the tau neutrino lepton. Okay? So the way that that basically works is if you have a torus, which is kind of like an infinity symbol, or pretty much is an infinity symbol. Okay. Yeah, so if you have an infinity symbol, so you have basically, the photon starts from nothing and infinity, okay? It's nothing and it's everything. And then it goes basically around here, and it spins up to infinity again. It gets to the up quark, it goes back, charm quark, back, top quark, back, and it keeps on building up. But it's getting higher up in the toruses. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just using this to illustrate it. But the higher up you get, the farther up it gets in the toruses. Okay? So the reason that the leptons and the quarks are completely opposite is because of magnetic waves and gravitational waves, which are love waves and entropy waves. Okay? Because for every positive, there has to be a negative. Okay? So that keeps everything in equilibrium. Okay? In the universe, there's a tiny bit more positive than there is negative, and that's how we exist. Okay? But the farther up you go, the more and more toruses they are. They just connect, they connect, they connect, they connect. Except instead of going in a two-dimensional way, they go infinitely, every which direction, which is like a sphere. Okay? And the quarks are basically connected by gluons, and the leptons are basically connected by bosons. Okay? But I'll get deeper into this in a little bit, but that's basically the building blocks of the hydrogen atom. Okay? Alright, so to basically illustrate this in another manner, you can look at it like this. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you start with the photon. Okay, so like I said, you have the photon, which starts everything. Okay, then you go to the up quark, charm quark, top quark. Go to the tau lepton, electron lepton, muon lepton. You go to the down quark, strange quark, bottom quark. You go to the muon neutrino, electron neutrino, and tau neutrino. Okay? And they're all connected by the photon. The photon is everything and it is nothing. Okay? So I need you to kind of understand that a little bit. Alright. Another way to show this is photon okay, going out, okay, coming out, going in, every which direction. It's infinite, okay. It's just a torus. It's a torus, and it's a series of toruses, starting from nothing, going up to infinity, and starting back over again. Okay, that's what the entire universe is. Okay, that's infinity. Okay. Now, let's get into the gradises. So the gradises of space, okay, so we live in 3 dimensions. Height, width, and length, okay? The gradises of space are what separate those, okay? It's this, in Latin that means steps, okay? So the way quarks and leptons are basically separated, looking at this in a way that it's comprehensible to the human mind, okay? You have to look at it like a cube. Okay, so basically the leptons and quarks are going pretty much every which direction, but looking at it from this, the quarks at the bottom and the leptons are up top. Okay? And that's how it works. That's what keeps everything in equilibrium. Okay? Is the gradises of space. And they're the same thing. They're the same thing as a torus. Okay? They're infinitely small and they're infinitely large. Okay? Those are the gradises of space. Okay? So like the sun, for instance. Let's think about the sun, okay? So the sun, the very middle of the sun, is a photon, okay? Out of that, turns into a ditorus, a tritorus, and the toruses keep on building, okay? They keep building and building and building and building until basically you get to the surface of the sun. That I postulate is probably either the element right before Mercury or it's Mercury is the surface of the sun to the point where it gets where it evaporates, okay? So it might be the element right before Mercury, just because, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen mercury evaporate, but I guarantee to get a metal to evaporate, it's got to be very hot, okay? So beyond the sun is when the Higgs kicks in, okay? So let's look at it like, let's look at protons, neutrons, and electrons, and how they basically orbit one another, okay? So, Kepler found that rather than an orbit being a perfect circle, he found that the way planets and stars actually orbit is you have 2 points. And say you put a rubber band around these 2 points. And then you put a pencil within the rubber band and you draw it. So instead of making a circle, it's going to make an elliptical. Okay? That's the way that protons, neutrons, and electrons all orbit one another. Okay? So, if you have a proton, a neutron, an electron, all orbiting each other equally, you're basically going to have something like this. Okay? And going every which direction, the proton, neutron, and electron, that's going to make a sphere. Okay? So that's basically how protons, neutrons, and electrons orbit one another. Okay? So if you go back to the Tri-torus, the way that it's shaped, that's the same way that it's shaped. Okay? So they're basically orbiting each other, but in a Tri-torus. Okay? Alright. So let's get into okay. So let's get into the gradiuses of existence. Okay? So of course, at the bottom of the gratis, you have the photon. Beyond that, you have the up quark, charm quark, and top quark. Okay? Okay. So those are those. And beyond that, you have the tau lepton, electron lepton, and muon lepton. Okay? Beyond that, you have the down quark, the strange quark, and the bottom quark. Beyond that, you have the muon neutrino lepton, electron neutrino lepton, and tau neutrino lepton. Okay? So, basically, the photon is the origin of everything. Okay? But them themselves are shooting out photons as well. Okay? They're shooting out both positive and negative photons, matter and antimatter. Okay? So if you connect them, which looks like an upside down pyramid, right? Well, there's a reason all this stuff exists. There's a reason religions exist. There's a reason all this stuff exists. Because it's been fed to us by something transcendental. Okay? So, yeah, but those are basically the gravities of space. And this is basically a hydrogen atom. Okay? So, let me think what I'm thinking about now. Okay, so let me show you guys a couple things real quick. Okay. Now I have a fidget spinner and I have a little toy. Okay? So, why does the Earth have a dynamo? Okay? Why is that? What makes, because life is possible on Earth because we have a dynamo. Why do we have a dynamo? Well, because the sun is pulling on the Earth as well as pushing on the Earth, and the moon is pulling on the Earth as well as pushing on the Earth. Okay? That's one of the reasons the sun is so incredibly hot for, because it's being pulled on by all the planets as well as pushed on by all the planets as well as the black hole. Okay? So, why do we have a dynamo? Well, this is the moon. The moon orbits the Earth. Okay? This is a levitating magnet right here, okay? And it basically just orbits the Earth, okay? That's why we have a dynamo. Now, the question is, why do dark matter and dark energy exist? Well, this is within our confines, but, okay, so this is a galaxy, okay? These two magnets are a galaxy. You put them together, they attract, okay? But you put them on a different plane, spin one of them, and they push each other apart, okay? That's why dark matter and dark energy exist, okay? So now let's get into that a little bit. So, going back to the Tri-Torus, okay? Everything in the universe is getting bigger, okay? We can't really tell that because everything in the universe is getting bigger, okay? So there's nothing to compare it to. The only way that you can tell the universe is getting bigger is, well, for one thing, we exist, and for another thing, you can see galaxies moving away, which they postulated that the galaxies were moving away at an accelerated speed, but they're not. They're all moving away at the speed of light, okay? But the issue with it is the galaxies that are closer are getting bigger, as well as our galaxy is getting bigger. So, but you can tell because they're closer, so they're getting bigger, and it looks like, you know, it looks like they're just moving away from us. It doesn't look like they're getting bigger, but they are getting bigger as they're moving away from us. So the galaxies that are farther away from us, way down the line, relative to the ones that are closer to us, you can't tell that they're getting bigger as well. So it looks like they're getting smaller. It looks like they're speeding up at an accelerated rate, but they're not. Okay? It's just because they're so far away and they're getting bigger that you can't really tell. It's just that situation. It's complicated to explain, but that's what it is. Everything in the universe is getting bigger. Everything is getting bigger. So, going back to the Tri-Torus, okay? So if you have basically a proton, a neutron, and an electron that are all orbiting one another, okay? And it's basically traveling in the Tri-Torus, like a Tri-Torus, except instead of going just like this, it's going in. It's moving infinitely because not only are they orbiting like this, they're also moving themselves. Kind of like if I had a triangle and I threw it up in the air and flipped it, it would just go every which direction, okay? So they're moving themselves. So if you use a fidget spinner and you spin it, there's centrifugal force, okay? So if they're going every which direction, it's not going to be like this where you have a hard time moving it back and forth. It's going to be like this where it's pushing everything away, okay? So that's basically how dark energy works, is it's centrifugal force with everything, with the protons, neutrons, electrons, orbiting everything else, pushing everything out, okay? But within a galaxy, it's the exact opposite, okay? It's basically, the toruses are traveling the opposite direction. So instead of pushing everything out, they're pulling everything in, okay? That's what dark matter is, okay? Dark matter is pulling everything in. Dark energy is pushing everything out, okay? So let me think what I was going to talk about. Okay, so we can get back in to the gradiuses of space real quick, okay? And I'll show you exactly how infinite they are, okay? So, this might blow some of your minds, but basically, all life on Earth is like we're like the neurotransmitters of the Earth, okay? We're basically the neurotransmitters of the Earth, and the Earth is the brain, okay? So we'll put it in a cube shape so people can understand it. Okay, so the bottom is us. We're the neurotransmitters, okay? Okay, the camera cut off. Okay, so basically, before I talk about the gradiuses, let's talk about so why exactly are the galaxies pushing each other away, while within the galaxies they're pulling each other together, okay? So if you add up how fast the stars, planets, planets, moons, asteroids, and black holes are traveling around each other, I guarantee you, you add all those speeds up, it's going to be the speed of light. Okay? So, within a galaxy that's getting bigger, well, they're all basically orbiting around each other like that, which that's how galaxies would look. If you saw it in real time, instead of seeing it the way that we do on the outside of on the top of the gratis, you basically see it doing like this, and it's going to get trippy. I'll get into that in a little bit. But so basically, that's how the galaxies are basically pulling everything is basically trying to pull in at the speed of light, with everything basically orbiting each other, basically just a series of toruses, okay? And they're basically working like a fidget spinner, but going every which direction, pushing everything out, pushing the other galaxies out, okay? So that's the difference between dark matter and dark energy. Okay, like I said, now let's get into the gratises, okay? So, we're basically all life on Earth is basically like the neurotransmitters of the Earth, okay? So, I'll put it in cube form so you can understand it, okay? So, the bottom of the Earth, we are the neurotransmitters of the Earth, okay? Next is the Earth. Okay? Next is the solar system. Next is the galaxy. Next after that is the universe. Next after that is the unexplainable transcendental. Okay? Okay? So that right there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gratises. Okay? Separated by 3 dimensions each time. Okay? But in actual reality, they're not going like this. They're moving infinitely. Okay? This universe is just an infinite torus. Okay? Alright. So, let's get into protons, neutrons, electrons versus stars, planets, moons, asteroids, and black holes. Okay? So, like I said before, the special relativity is directly related to Planck's constant. Why is that? It's like I said before, the universe is nothing and it's everything. A torus, a giant series of toruses, okay? A photon, and a giant series of photons, okay? This is where it gets trippy. They're the same thing. Do you understand that? They're the same thing. You are an infinitely blooming flower of stars, planets, moons, asteroids, and black holes. Not just protons, neutrons, and electrons. No, you're beyond that. You are the universe. are the light. That's how you're seeing me right now. Because the universe is infinitely expanding. Everything's expanding. That's how we are communicating right now. Okay? The photons shooting out from my protons within me is how you see me. You can touch me and you can hear me because of the neutrons, the photons shooting out from the neutrons. Okay? And everything that's held together, it's held together by the electrons, which are the black holes. Okay? That's all you are. You're the universe. Do you get it? You're the universe. And all of us together are the multiverses. Okay? Because you might say, multiverse. Yeah, each human being is a universe in themselves. They come together, they make a child. That's another universe. Okay? I know this stuff is deep, but yeah, this is it. This is how the universe works. And I know it's trippy, but it's the way it goes. And whenever we look out in outer space and we look at the top of our gratis, the top of the cube, basically that's how fast, if our minds didn't work so quickly with our neurotransmitters, which with the gratises is probably us, you would be moving as fast as the stars and galaxies that you see out in space. Okay? Because you are the universe. We are all the universe. And beyond that is the transcendental that is not understandable. Okay? You have basically photons, which are the string, and you have the Higgs, which is beyond the string, and then everything that encompasses that. Okay? But the most beautiful thing about it is it's nothing and it's everything. It all originates from a photon, which is a torus, to infinite photons, which are an infinite series of toruses. Okay? With everything getting bigger. That's how we're interacting right now. It's all just photons. Okay? All photons being shot out in every which direction. Okay? My photons are being shot out, and you're pulling in my photons with your electrons, black holes. Okay? So, yeah. I think that's about everything. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. But that's really all I have to say about that. We are the light in the darkness. Okay, we are the light in the darkness, and we get to live within the yin and yang. We get to live within the rainbow that separates the yin and yang. Okay? That's a beautiful thing. Okay? It's beautiful. So, I won't get too into anything that's too religious or transcendental speaking about this, but yeah, that's all it is nothing and everything. A photon, which is an infinite torus, connected with infinite other toruses and infinite other photons. Okay? It's beautiful. And it's all you. It's all me. It's all of us. It's just a giant infinite torus its most simplest point. Nothing and everything. Okay? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's I don't know if you can really call it string theory anymore because it all connects. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure if people plug this into quantum mechanics, it all is going to work out because I've looked at the Feynman diagrams and it all pretty much works out. You know what I mean? The proton slash star is shooting out photons, okay, and you can feel it because you're feeling the photons from the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons are holding everything together, okay? So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and that's pretty much it. You know, I could talk about you know, kind of like how the Earth works, how we basically are the neurotransmitters. You know, so you have neurons, which are pretty much the cities, axons, which are pretty much the roads, us, the neurotransmitters, and whenever we look at something, we see a beautiful plant, or we talk to somebody, or do anything, that's basically the synapses, okay? Because we're communicating with one another. You know what I mean? We're basically changing the world. And with the string shooting out every which direction at the speed of light, everything, the string infinitely growing, that's how everything exists. That's what everything is. So, that's pretty much it. I've spent quite a bit of time and effort on this, and I think, and everybody has contributed to it. Everybody has contributed to it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's infinite, and that's how you explain infinity. So, if you want to go to my GoFundMe page, Magnitis Toys, MAGNITIS Toys, and contribute, I would appreciate it. If you'd like to get a hold of me, my email is scpmarine, M-A-R-I-N-E, @hotmail.com. Okay? Alright, thank you for your time, and I hope you found this enlightening, because you are the light. It makes sense that people, whenever they think they're dying, they see the light, because you are the light. And you were infinite. It's all infinite.